Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video I'm going to use this cute little frame that I found at the Dollar Tree store. I actually bought 3 of them for $1.25. How in the world could I pass this up? I thought that was so cute. They also had some round ones that were very similar. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to cut a design out of self-adhesive vinyl or adhesive vinyl. I'm going to transfer it onto my frame and I'm going to make a cute little Valentine's Day wall hanging. Now I'm going to do this with my Cricut Maker, my computer, which is under my vinyl. I'm going to use vinyl out of this HTV Ront multi-pack. Now there are 45 sheets of 12 by 12 adhesive vinyl in here and 5 sheets of transfer paper. I'll put a link to this just in case you're interested in it. Now oftentimes when I am pressing vinyl onto wood, I like to use heat transfer vinyl. But there's 2 things about this that make me want to use the adhesive vinyl instead of HTV. First of all, it has these grooves cut in it. And then second of all, the little frame around it is taller than the board inside of it. So I would have to use the little Cricut Mini press to get all of those pressed on. So today I'm going to try it with self-adhesive vinyl. Now, if you're interested in things like this, make sure that you've subscribed. If you do, tap that bell and then select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. Now, the very first thing that I want to do before I actually start working on my design is I want to go ahead and measure how much space I have on this. So the usable space inside is 6 7/8 inches by 6 7/8 inches. So I'm going to go a little bit conservative and I'm going to say 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. Also, I changed my mind on the vinyl because most of the vinyl in that pack was kind of glossy, and I really didn't want a glossy look on this rustic sign. Now this matte black did come from that pack. The back of it has actually kind of a film type backing instead of paper, but the front of the vinyl is matte black. And then I have this darker bright pink. I think this is Cricut brand, but I'm not really sure. And then I have this really light pink vinyl, and this is Caesar brand. So instead of pink and red, I'm going to use a light pink and a darker pink, and then I'm going to have a background of black behind it. You'll understand just a little bit more in a minute when I go into the design. I also have a piece of transfer tape from that package of adhesive vinyl, and then a squeegee, a weeding tool, some scissors, my little brayer, and then of course the ruler that I just used. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the design that I'm going to use. I'm going to show you a second design that I also thought was super cute, and then we're going to take our design into Cricut Design Space. So there's a couple of designs that I thought about using. Let me show you what those are. To find my designs in Creative Fabrica, which I absolutely love. When I first got Creative Fabrica, it was a trial membership. I honestly thought I would cancel after a month, but I have kept going probably for close to 2 years now. Let me show you my designs that I'll use though. I click on my profile, my downloads, and here's one of them. It's in this bundle, and I thought about using this Be Mine. But there are some tiny, tiny little black parts to this, and I knew it was going to be really tedious, especially on such a small design that I'm going to use. So then I found this one. I like how it's more chunky. It's pretty wide. We're going to fix that. And then I'm going to put some little hearts down the middle of this side of the B and down this side of the M. So here's how you would do it. You'd click download. Now I've already downloaded this, so I might get a message that says that. Then I'm going to go to my downloads. It's right here, so I'm going to double click on it, and I want the SVG version. Now I'm going to move this over just a little bit so I can drag it to my desktop. And that's all there is to it. Now it's on my desktop. Let's say to replace it. Remember, I already downloaded it once. I just wanted to show you how to do it. All right, so now we're going to go into Cricut Design Space. And I'm going to say New Project. upload, upload design. Then I could go find it on my desktop and drag it in. But for now, I'm going to hit browse. And here it is, Be Mine Too. So I'll say open. It's already an SVG, so there's nothing to do here. So I'll say upload. Once I've uploaded it, I can click on it and say add to canvas. All right, let's go ahead and let's make a template or a square that mimics my wall hanging. I'm going to go to shapes, click on square, and then I think I said I was going to do 6.75. Since this lock is on, the dimensions are locked. When I hit enter, the height will change also. Okay, now I'm going to make that a lot lighter, like that. And for now, I'm just going to move it out of the way. Now this is currently almost 12 inches wide. So let's take this down to 5.75. Now notice it is so short. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and unlock it, and then I'm going to drag it so it's taller. Let's keep going just a little bit more, and a little bit more. Let's do one more time. Okay, that's close enough to square. Most everything in here I like, but from dragging it, I really don't like the way the hearts are. So we're going to deal with that. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup it. And then let's see if I can click on just this one heart. Okay, I can. So now I'm going to unlock the dimensions, and I'm going to drag it wider so it doesn't look so tall and skinny. Now I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard, just move it over a little bit. So let's do this heart. Again, I need to unlock it and drag it wider. And because now it's on this left side of the arrow, I'm going to select the arrow, use the arrows on my keyboard and move it over. Okay, it's not quite touching that, so I'm good with that. Let me move the heart over just once. I did that with the arrows on my keyboard. That looks good. And then I have these two hearts to deal with. Let's just do them at the same time. Once again, unlock the proportions and just drag them wider. Okay, so I like the pink one. I think the red one needs to be a little bit wider, so let's just do it by itself. Notice it's locked again, so let's unlock it and we'll drag it. All right, let's move it to the right just a tiny bit. Okay, so I like all of that so far. Now I want to have just a thin black offset below everything. I also want to have those hearts in it. So let's deal with that first. I'm going to come right over here to shapes, and this is the free part. I don't pay for Cricut. I'm going to click on heart. Now let's make that tiny. Smaller yet. And then I need to move it over. But notice I have arrows, so if I try to move this over, I can't move it. It's just changing the size. And so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to try to get rid of the arrows so I can move it. Okay, is that going to do it? Nope. When I have a problem like this, I just use the arrows on my keyboard and move it that way. It takes longer, but at least it works. All right, we're getting pretty close, and I can tell it's still going to be too large. So let me click off of it, back on it. I really didn't have to click off of it. I just do that a lot. Get it quite a bit smaller. It might be a little too small. Well, actually, that looks pretty good. And now I can move it all of a sudden. Okay, so I think I want 4 hearts going up and down. So I'm going to click on it, hit Command-C for copy, Command-V for paste. And here it is way over here again, and that time I could just drag it. Let's do another Command-V to get another heart. And then one more, and I have my 4th heart. Okay, so I'm going to put the top one about where I want it, and the bottom one about where I want it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the shift key down and I'm going to go right over here and select the other hearts. I can let go of the shift key, then I'll click on the line. I'm going to center it horizontally, and then I'm going to go back to a line and distribute vertically. That way there's even spacing on an up and down path. All right, before I do anything, I want to go ahead and group those. So I'll click right here. Now I can use that right arrow on my keyboard and move it over just a tiny bit. Okay, I think that looks pretty cute. Let's go ahead and do Command C for copy, Command V for paste, and I have another one for this M. Okay, I just have to move it until that arrow goes away. Now those are spread out a little too much, I think. So I'm going to ungroup them. I think they're too large also. Let's go back so they're grouped. And then I'll make them just a tiny bit smaller. And just a tiny bit smaller. I think that looks pretty good. So now all I'm going to do, if I can get rid of the arrow, there we go, is just move it into place. Okay, now I want to slice this out. So I think I'm going to have to grab all those, go to Combine, and say Unite. And I'm doing that because you can only slice when you have two things selected. And when you unite them, it's considered one item. I'll do the same thing here. Select it, go to Combine, and Unite. All right, so let's click on the M. And actually, it's the whole word. Hold the shift key down and try to click here. And slice is there. So I'll go ahead and click Slice. And now I can just click on that, get rid of it. And then click on this and get rid of it. Slice is like a cookie cutter. So we're going to do it again here. Click on the heart, hit the shift key, click on the B, and hit slice. So in thinking about it as being a cookie cutter, this gray part was the cookie cutter, and what's left are the cookies. So we'll delete that. I did not come up with that on my own. I heard it a few years ago, but I think it was a great analogy. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select everything, and let's go up here to offset. And that is way too large. I just want a tiny offset. Let's go down to about, I want to try 0.04. And then I'm going to click apply and I can look at it. Okay, let me drag it off so I can check it out. I'm really wanting this and this to connect a little bit more. So, okay, the problem is going to be if I make the offset larger, I'm going to lose that right there. So let's go back and go back. So I'm going to need to try to get this arrow isolated. Okay, that's isolated, that's isolated. Okay, because I want a smaller offset on the arrow. So this is already selected. I'm going to hit the shift key and I'm going to go right over here, select that, and then I'll go up to group. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and select everything else. Let's get that heart. Okay, I think I have everything else but not the arrow. Let's go up to offset and see. So I'm going to go offset, and I didn't think 0.4 was big enough. Let's go to 0.05, not 0.4, 0.04. But now I want to go to 0.05 and click apply. Okay, now I have a problem because my arrow was still selected. Let's go back. I'm going to go right over here and I'm going to hide those. Now I think it's going to be much easier to do it the way I want it. Now I'm not sure what all that is, but let's see if I can move on. So with all of this selected, I'm going to go to offset. I'm going to put it on 0.05 and I'll say apply. Perfect. Now let's bring this group back and let's select this group and go up to offset. And remember 0.04 made it where you could barely see this part in here. So I'm going to go on down to 0.03 and say apply. Okay, why didn't it turn black? There we go. I hit apply again and it did. So I want this offset that I just did, and holding the shift key down, I'm going to add this offset to it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say attach. Okay, are my other colors under there? There they are. Worried me for a minute. So I'll hit back and we can move this out of the way so that we can work with these layers. Now I want to keep all my pink things on one layer and I want them to cut out just the way you see them here. To get them to cut out the way you see them here, I'm going to have to attach them. Let me show you what happens if you don't. I'll say make it, and we'll go with either the red or pink layer. And see, it doesn't look like it did on the screen because I didn't attach them. So I'm going to select everything that's pink, hold the shift key down, add this B to it, and then add the arrow to it, and I will say attach. Let's make sure those are together. They are. So then one more time, let's select everything in red and hit attach. Now I'm using adhesive vinyl, so you don't have to mirror this. You would if you had HTV, but with adhesive vinyl you don't. And then lastly, I want to get rid of this gray square. Now I'm ready to go ahead, send this to the printer, and cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and say make, and I'm going to do this so you see the settings. For the black layer as well as the red layer and the pink layer, which on mine are dark pink and light pink, I'll go ahead and I'll say continue. And then I'm going to use the vinyl setting. All right, let's go ahead, change the camera view around, and let's watch this cut. Now I'm going to go ahead and start by weeding the pink, and then I'll go ahead and fast forward the rest of it. Now, like I said earlier, I kept this the way it was spaced out in the design, and that is going to waste some vinyl. So maybe you want to do it this way, or maybe you want to hand place everything. That is truly up to you. Typically, I don't like to waste the vinyl, but I wanted to try this and see how it'd turn out. I plan to layer all 3 layers on the black before I put the black down on the wall hanging. The wall hanging is kind of rough. I think I'm going to have a little bit of a hard time keeping this to stick down. So I didn't want to end up putting transfer tape over it 2 additional times and risk pulling it up. Now this is weeding beautifully. Again, this was Caesar. And I haven't used adhesive vinyl a ton, but I do use HTV a lot, and I love Caesar HTV. Okay, so we just have some centers to pull out here. And then we have some little pieces to get out of that bee. Remember we put that heart in there? I think adding those little hearts to this bee is just really going to spice it up a bit. And I got the idea from it by looking at that first design I showed you. So if you go back, you'll see it had some hearts in it. All right, that one's done. I'll set it aside. I'll keep going, and again, I'm just going to fast forward through it. Okay, so everything looks pretty good. I do see that when I welded this, I didn't have this part included. So there is a slight overcut right there, but this is just going to be my base. I'm okay with that. There is no reason for me to recut that. But that was a slight error that I made. Okay, now remember I said I wanted to go ahead and layer everything on the black before transferring it to my sign. And so let's go ahead and do that. And I put all those where I think they go, and now I really want to cut them apart and do them one by one, which means I really did waste that vinyl, but I think it's going to be a lot easier for me to do that and get it laid down correctly. So that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes we change our minds, and in fact, I don't even need transfer tape for this heart, I don't feel like. Let me just lay it down. And I may have to get my head under the camera so I make sure and get this in the right place. So if I do that, I'll delete that part so you don't see the back of my head. And I am going to use transfer tape for this because I'm just bending it up. Okay, so I'm going to take this one heart and go ahead, put transfer tape on it. Now, I kind of bent it up, so let me go ahead and brayer it out, just smooth it out as much as I can. And then I'm going to flip it over and remove the backing off of the heart. Then I want to center on this black heart right here. So I am going to put my head under there. I'm going to delete that, but I really need to do that to see well. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I made another design for my office wall where I use the same concept, where you put a small black offset behind the whole thing, and it really does kind of help it stand out, as well as it helps you place everything so perfectly. So next I'll do the B. Hopefully I'll be able to reuse some of this transfer tape since I'm chopping it up. So if you're going to do this design the same way I did, I probably would not worry about attaching everything and having it look like it needs to look when you lay it down, because if you're going to chop it up, there's no need to do that. Again, you're just wasting vinyl. All right, let me look at this really closely. Isn't that going to be cute? I really love that black behind this pink. And then when I put it on my blank, because my blank has a lot of white in it, it's really going to help it stand out. Otherwise, this light pink might just kind of blend into the back. All right, let's just start picking up some of these smaller hearts. Now I realize I didn't weed out the center of that black arrow. Let me go ahead and try to get that out. And you know, this is why they make weeding tools, right, Marilyn? But I got it out. Okay, I am done layering those, and I'm so happy about that. All right, let's go ahead and bring that wall hanging back over, put this down on it. I'm going to use one larger piece of transfer tape, put that down on it, and then we are done. Look at this. Look how cute that is. And I really love that I didn't use the glossy vinyl. I think for this kind of sign, This is rustic. I think you just have to use matte. That's just my opinion. You use whatever you want. Whatever is your taste is going to be beautiful. Okay, so let's gently put this down so that I don't get any bubbles in it or folds in it. Okay, it's really nice and smooth on there. Then I'm going to use my squeegee so I make sure it'll stay. Now there's not much of the black vinyl attached to this transfer tape, just these very outsides. So let's hope this comes up okay. Oh my goodness, that is coming up beautifully. Now again, this black layer is from that pack of vinyl that I showed you in the intro. It does have a film backing, so it's not a typical paper backing. And for a lot of things, that is wonderful. I love their backing. Now, I have tried to use this vinyl on teeny tiny little tedious parts. And I would not use it for that because since it is a film, the vinyl wants to come off of it pretty easily, and all those teeny tiny little parts can kind of move around on it. So I love the vinyl, but not for tiny little intricate designs. Okay, now as long as I can get this put down the way I want it, we are home free. Now I could put some parchment paper under it, and I think I will. So I put parchment paper under it because this is not going to stick to parchment paper. So I'll have a little bit above the parchment paper, and I can see through the parchment paper well enough to be able to move it and see if it's in the right place. So I'm going to put it down and get it to where I want it. Let's go down just a tiny bit. And to the right just a tiny bit. I think that's going to be good. Is it going to be perfect? Maybe not. But it is pretty darn close. Okay, I like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the part down that's stuck to the board, and I'm going to flip this all over, get that out of there, lay it back down, and smooth it down into place. All right, let's do a little bit more just to make sure it's going to stick. And then all I have to do is get this transfer tape off. And I feel like that's going to be pretty easy to do. Now when I pull it, I'm pulling it at an extreme angle. I'm not pulling up, I'm pulling back. And then if something starts to come up, so far it hasn't, but let's say this would have started to come up, I'd put it back down, press on it, and try it again. Okay, that little piece started to come up, but it fell back down on its own. And look at that. That is adorable. Look at that. Such a cute little board from the Dollar Tree store. A little bit of vinyl. I love it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure and give me that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you do, tap the bell, then select the all notifications. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. Thanks again for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.